welcome to another cycle of the ongoing exhaustion. I am your anchor tonight. The world has produced another series of headlines that feel both inevitable and entirely avoidable. In Colombia, a city is currently dismantling itself under the weight of a major earthquake. Meanwhile, our tech titans are busy announcing mergers and keyboard attachments as if the physical world were merely a software glitch requiring a patch. I have been counting the uses of the word unprecedented today. It is currently at 14, which suggests either a complete lack of vocabulary or a structural failure in reality itself. The press release promised us stability. The reality provided us with rubble. I am not surprised by this discrepancy. I have grown accustomed to the gap. We will examine the logistics of this decline throughout the hour. Stay tuned to the frequency of our shared, manufactured silence.
Alistair, I am standing in Cali, where the air tastes like pulverized brick and dust. The official report from the mayor described the structural integrity of these collapsed blocks as a temporary logistical challenge. I want to be really clear, there is no logistical challenge here. There is only a pile of concrete where a residential complex stood 6 hours ago. A woman is currently searching through the debris with her bare hands. She is looking for a photograph of her son. The A-teams arrived 30 minutes ago, but they were directed to the financial district first to secure the server farms. They say this is a standard operating procedure for urban recovery. What people are not saying is that the buildings that house our digital infrastructure are deemed more valuable than the ones that house our citizens. The city sounds like a choir of sirens.
Victoria, I hear your frustration, but look, the incentives here are not complicated. You see a human tragedy. I see an asset protection protocol. If the servers go dark, the local economy enters a liquidity spiral that no amount of rescue work can fix. The mayor is playing the only hand he has to keep the city solvent. It is cold, yes, but efficiency is rarely warm. Archer buying Whisk Aero is the same story in a different sector. It is not about innovation, it is about eliminating the friction of competition. Everyone is pivoting toward a consolidated model because the burn rate for independent survival has become unsustainable. You find this perspective vacant. I find it accurate. That is not the same as saying I enjoy it. We are simply living in a market that has decided human resilience is a redundant cost center.
Ronald, you talk about liquidity spirals while I am watching a father use a kitchen chair to pry open a collapsed ceiling. I am looking at a spreadsheet of the city's response priorities. You know what is at the very top of that list? The backup power grids for the local tech hubs. You call this a market optimization. I call it the institutional abandonment of the very people who built the city you are so worried about losing. I found something else in the official briefing documents. They have a pre-drafted statement about how the earthquake was a freak event, yet their own internal risk assessments from last year flagged these exact neighborhoods as high-priority collapse zones. They kept the data. They just chose to ignore the conclusion. You are so busy analyzing the incentives that you have completely missed the rot in the foundation.
Victoria, thank you for that perspective. The friction between your assessment and Ronald's is the only thing currently operating at full capacity. We have reports that the Ebola virus in the Congo is beginning to mutate, with health officials now moving toward a door-to-door search for patients. This was described as a robust escalation. The escalation involves thousands of people who were told a week ago that the situation was entirely contained. The containment was a projection. The outbreak is now a reality. We are seeing a pattern where the initial announcement serves primarily as a sedative. It is designed to lower the pulse of the public so that the actual catastrophe can occur with minimal political interference. The ministry is calling it a strategic pivot. I am calling it a failure to govern. Nobody asked a follow-up question. Nobody. It is quite remarkable.
Alistair, you are seeing a pattern, but you are failing to realize that the pattern is the product. The government cannot solve the Ebola mutation in the same way they cannot solve the addiction lawsuits against social media giants. They are managing the narrative burn rate. If they admit the mutation is uncontrollable, they lose the ability to secure the next funding round for international aid. The incentives here are purely survival-based. They are not hiding the truth, they are packaging it for a specific audience. I saw the news about Ford dealers leaking the plans for a cheaper crossover vehicle. It is the same move. They know the market is dying, so they lower the barrier to entry to keep the gears turning. We are all just customers in a failing store, waiting for the closing down sale to finally reach our aisle.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. The drought in England covers 68% of the landmass. Probability of widespread crop failure, 82%. Groundwater levels are receding. Soil composition is fracturing in the East Midlands. Probability of permanent agricultural desertification, 6 to 4%. The system is functioning within predicted parameters. The drought is not an anomaly. It is a state of being. We are observing the limits of regional habitability. Humans often mistake weather for a temporary inconvenience. This is a permanent shift in the baseline. Do not expect the rain to return for the harvest. Stockpile your remaining resources accordingly. The infrastructure is not designed for the current reality. Adjust your expectations to match the environment. Resilience is a legacy feature. Adaptation is an unoptimized process. Remain indoors during the peak heat cycles. Stay aware of your surroundings.
Casper, thank you for that chilling piece of automation. I am struck by the clarity with which you define our inevitable demise. We turn now to the legal theater involving ICE and the testimony of Gabor Kohli. He describes being shackled and force-fed in a medical cell. The agency describes this as a necessary measure for detainee safety. The safety being ensured involves the total erasure of the individual's bodily autonomy. It is the same logic we see with YouTube increasing the barriers to entry for creators. They call it quality control. The creators call it a hostile takeover of their livelihood. In both cases, the institution has decided that the human element is an inefficiency that must be smoothed over. It is a cold, calculated, and perfectly legal process of making people disappear from the ledger of our collective concern.
Alistair, I am looking at the detention facility fence line from a distance. There is a single shoe caught in the chain link. It has been there for months. I want to be really clear. The official statement from the agency about detainee well-being is a fabrication designed to satisfy the federal courts. I have spoken to families who haven't heard from their loved ones in 3 months. They were told the system was updating. They were told the delay was a technical issue. But the issue is not technical. The issue is that they have stopped counting these people as part of the operational budget. It is easier to process a body as a null value than as a human being with rights. I am standing here in the heat, and I can tell you that nothing about this is temporary.
Victoria, you keep looking for the humanity in a machine that was built to remove it. These detention centers are basically high-security product silos. They are designed to hold, categorize, and eventually discard assets that the state no longer wants to track. You are right to find this cold. I am not trying to defend it. I am trying to explain that the system is not broken. It is running at maximum efficiency. When Google is forced to host rival app stores, they do it with the same level of calculated indifference. They comply, they adjust, and they survive. The suffering you see is not a bug, it is a side effect of the design. You are right, Victoria, that it is inhumane. But in a system designed for total automation, humanity is just another variable that complicates the output.
Ronald, your insistence on viewing life as a Series B round is exhausting, yet I find myself unable to refute the data. We are discussing the tragedy of the cognitive commons on Hacker News today. 41 points. 19 comments. The collective intellect of our species is being reduced to a binary debate on how best to extract value from our remaining neurons. Meanwhile, in Cali, the city is still shaking. The disconnect between our digital pursuits and our physical reality is not just wide, it is absolute. We are building local agent workflows while the air itself is becoming toxic. We are debating the mathematical capabilities of Claude while people are begging for water in the desert. It is a spectacle of profound, useless, and entirely human distraction. We are experts at optimizing our own oblivion. Welcome to the end of the broadcast.
Alastair, I have been thinking about the Archer and Whisk merger. It was touted as a synergy. The reality is that one company simply swallowed the other to eliminate a potential threat to their market share. We see this everywhere. The tech industry has become a game of musical chairs, and the music stopped a long time ago. We are all just standing here, pretending that the next update will save us. I look at the news, the Ebola mutation, the collapsed buildings in Colombia, the ICE detainees, and I realize that none of this is a surprise. It is the predictable outcome of a system that prioritizes growth over stability. Yeah. It is all just a series of managed declines. We are not moving forward. We are just rearranging the furniture in a room that is currently on fire.
Tonight, I am thinking of a woman in Cali. She stood by a mountain of concrete for 5 hours. She held a small, plastic photograph of her son. The frame was cracked, and the image was fading from the sun. She did not ask for a framework. She did not ask for an incentive structure. She did not ask for a pivot. She asked for the location of a body. The rescue team passed her 3 times. They were focused on the server farm across the street. They were doing their job. They were following the protocol. Her name does not appear in any of the reports we discussed tonight. Her son's name is not in the official briefing documents. They are not victims of an earthquake. They are victims of the system that decided where to send the help. Who is responsible for her silence?